Ravens fans, I think everybody's looking in the wrong place. Every offseason, the conversation always starts with Lamar Jackson. Can the offense score more points? Can Derrick Henry dominate again? Can Declan Doyle unlock another level? Those are all fair questions. But after reading through everything coming out of Baltimore over the last few weeks, I think the biggest story on this football team is happening on the other side of the ball. Because I don't think the Ravens are asking, can our defense be good? I think they're asking, can this become the best secondary in football? And honestly, I think that's a completely different conversation, because when you start connecting all the pieces, Malaki Starks, Nate Wiggins, Kyle Hamilton, Marlon Humphrey, the versatility Jesse Minter wants, the confidence players are showing, it starts feeling less like potential and more like a defense that's getting ready to take a massive leap. And I think that's the biggest reason. Isn't talent, it's maturity. I've noticed something interesting. Last offseason, the Ravens were introducing new faces. Young players were learning, trying to keep up, trying to earn trust, trying to understand the NFL football. This offseason, the language is completely different. Now players are talking about expectations, standards, leadership, communication. That's what mature football teams sound like. And honestly, that's why I'm more excited about this secondary today than I was 12 months ago. And here's something that I think people underestimate. Everybody talks about sacks, everybody talks about pass rush, but if you ask any quarterback what's harder, a great pass rush or nobody being open, the answer is usually coverage, because coverage forces hesitation. Hesitation creates sacks. Coverage creates turnovers. Coverage wins playoff games. That's why I think this conversation matters. And if we are talking about players who can completely change the identity of this secondary, we have to start with Malaki Starks. The thing that impressed me the most this offseason wasn't a highlight, it wasn't a workout, it wasn't a viral clip, it was one sentence. Malaki basically admitted his rookie season wasn't good enough. Think about how rare that is. Most second-year players spend the offseason reminding everybody how much they accomplished. Malaki did the opposite. He immediately pointed towards improvement. That tells me he's evaluating himself differently now. He's not asking, did I survive my rookie year? He's asking, did I play championship football? Those are completely different questions. And then came another detail. Starks intentionally changed his body. Now this isn't about becoming heavier just to say he gained weight. It's about becoming a more complete safety. Because Baltimore asks its safeties to do everything: cover, blitz, tackle, play downhill, rotate late, communicate. You have to be physical enough to stop the run, but athletic enough to stay with receivers. That's one of the hardest jobs in football. Adding strength gives him a better chance to handle all of it. And honestly, the biggest jump isn't always physical, it's mental. Last year, every formation looked new, every quarterback looked different, every offense presented another lesson. Now, those lessons have already happened. That's why year 2 is usually when players stop reacting and start anticipating. And anticipation is what separates good defensive backs from elite ones. But here's where this story really gets interesting, because while Malaki is trying to become a better safety, there's another player who's trying to become one of the best corners in football. I think people are forgetting something about Nate Wiggins. We never actually saw the real Nate Wiggins, not consistently, because according to Nate himself, he spent most of last season playing through an injury. He recently said he was operating around 60 to 70% physically. Now think about that. Imagine trying to cover some of the fastest receivers in football while never feeling like your body is completely right. That's incredibly difficult. Now he's healthy, that's a completely different starting point. What I loved about his interview wasn't the confidence, because NFL corners are supposed to have confidence. It was about who he wants to guard. He wants wide receiver ones. He wants the challenge. He wants the best assignment every Sunday. That's not ego, that's being competitive. And great corners usually have that mindset. You don't become elite hiding from great receivers. Nate also talked about Jalen Ramsey, not because he wanted to copy him, but because he respected the mindset. Corners have short memories. You give up one catch, the next play starts immediately. Confidence isn't optional, it's required, and I think Nate understands that. But honestly, this video isn't really about Malaki Starks. It isn't really about Nate Wiggins either. It's about what happens if both become what Baltimore believes they can become, because Kyle Hamilton becomes even more dangerous. Marlon Humphrey doesn't have to carry as much. Jesse Minter gains flexibility. The pass rush has more time to get home. Everything becomes more connected. That's how great defenses work. Not because one player becomes a superstar, but because everybody elevates each other. And that's why I think this is one of the biggest stories going into training camp. Everybody keeps asking if the Ravens offense will improve. I think it will, but the unit that could completely change this football team is the secondary. Because if Malaki Starks become the player he expects to become, and if Nate Wiggins finally shows us what he looks like at 100%, I truly believe Baltimore has a chance to put one of the best defensive backfields in football on the field this season. And if that happens, the rest of the NFL is going to have a serious problem. So now I want to hear from you Ravens fans. Which player will more likely make the All-Pro first? Malaki Starks or Nate Wiggins? Or do you think somebody else in this secondary would take the biggest leap? Drop your comments below, like, share, subscribe. I appreciate you all for watching the videos on Gridiron Flock TV. I'm gonna continue to bring you all the updated news when it comes to the Ravens, and you already know, we out.